All right. Let's get to Zander. He's had a really great week with guys coming on that program. Birds 365. They've done a really nice job. Paul was great today, by the way. Not that I'm a fan, not he's a fan of me either. So let's be fair there also. But he was pretty good today, man. He said some really good things. He really does. And he's one of the better guys, too, when it comes to covering a National Football League team. Hey, what's your take on Dallas Goedert, dog?
I think they better start using him more. He's a very good tight end. I think that's underutilized. I don't know if it's a product of just the way that Jalen Hurts plays ball or if it's the product of the offense or the play calling or what it is. But, you got a guy who can he runs almost like a receiver in a way. He really runs the ball well after he catches it. I think you got to use him more. I think the whole offense opens up if you use that middle of the field more. Hurts didn't do it last year. He did it in 22, but there was a different style of an offense. So I think if you get back to that, it makes the life easier of everybody. It makes Jalen's life easier. It makes A.J. Brown's life easier. It makes Devontae Smith's life easier. It makes offensive line and Saquon Barkley's life easier. You got to use the guy. He's a talented player. But the one knock on him is he gets hurt a lot. A lot. And your best ability is your availability, obviously the cliche. And he's got to stay healthy. Now, he's a physical player, so it's like even last year, he got hurt from being physical, right? Like he stiff-armed a guy and got hurt. So I don't know what you can do about that. I like the physicality, and I don't want you to change being physical because you got hurt. You got to just – I guess some people have the injury bug bad. But I love the player. I think he's a great player. I think he's underutilized in this offense, and I think I'd like to see him used more and put in a position to catch a lot of balls and move the sticks for this offense.
There was a guy that played in the Indianapolis Colts, and his name was Bob Sanders, and he played with a physical style. He played such a physical style. He was always injured, and he missed time. And sometimes, Zander, when you have that mentality like that and you play with that reckless abandon, it's what it is and who you are, and it's part of how teams see you and evaluate you.
100%.
I mean, Bob Sanders was a hell of a player and a hell of a hitter. Tony Dungy loved him. But he did the same thing and said the same thing to him that you're saying about Goedert. Hey, I'm not going to change the player. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get 16 games out of him. Back then it was 16. You're not going to get 16 games, it seems. You're not going to get that out of Dallas Goedert because of the style of play he gets. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
so we need more depth there.
That's a good one, too. Jeremy Shockey. I loved Jeremy Shockey. I know he's a Giants fan, but, my dad grew up where my dad grew up in the middle of Pennsylvania in the projects, and he had one TV station and one station on his little dial-up radio, and it was the New York Yankees and the New York Football Giants. And my dad was obviously a New York fan growing up because of that. He's a little kid, and when he moved over to here and he got out of there, obviously I was raised around here, so I'm not a Giants fan at all, but my dad is. So, when I was a kid, I remember he loved, Eli Manning and Jeremy Shockey. So he was the Giants guy that I liked kind of. But anyway, it's a good point. It's very similar to Goedert in that way. And, I don't want to change the guy, but I want to utilize him more. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. It is what it is.
I'll tell you a little Shockey story. He's the University of Miami guy, and so he, Kellen Winslow Jr., which had issues, and he's in jail now, obviously, but he was a really good football player. And I remember, the old man who's a Hall of Fame player, and Kellen Winslow Jr. asked me, he goes, "Man, I'll never play here, man. They got Jeremy Shockey here. They got the guy who played basketball, the guy with New Orleans up in Seattle. The guy was a tight end forever. They had him." He goes, "I'll never play here." It's like tight end you. And I go, "Dude, you'll play. Shockey's going to leave." I think Shockey first went to the Giants, then he went to New Orleans. I think that's how that worked out because he ended up getting a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I forget where he ended. I know I did. Yeah, you're right. He did leave the Giants. I forget where he ended up though.
Yeah, I like that idea about putting Johnny Wilson maybe in that position.
Yeah, I could see it. I mean, it's one of those things when he got drafted there, and then they asked in the press conferences about that, or will you move him to tight end? And they're like, "No, we scouted him as a wide receiver." But you know how the cookie crumbles. When the roster comes out and they need a guy at tight end and Johnny Wilson can fit the role, they're going to put him there. I actually think it would be a great fit because, he's got that big size and We need a tight end that can catch the ball. Another one at tight end too, and I think he would fit that bill. I just don't know if Hurts would find him. Everybody's like, we need a tight end too, and I'm like, well, yeah, I agree, but what is he going to be? The 7th option, the 6th option? I mean, how much difference do they make in the game? They don't make much difference, but it's good to have them. We'll see what they end up doing. I like Johnny Wilson. I think he's actually going to be a decent player.
You made a comment about Kellen Moore's resume the other day to me. And I was always like, yeah, I got to tell you, he was a quarterback coach in 18 in Dallas. And from 19 to 22, 2019, they had 431 yards a game. They were first. In 2020, Dak gets hurt in New York, and they still end up 14th. Respectable, middle of the pack. They lose their top light quarterback. They're 371-8. They come back the following year in 2021. He's 407. He's first in the league again. And his last year in Dallas, 2022, they walked back outside the top 10 a little bit. I think that had a lot to do with losing Amari Cooper. And
the talent fluctuated like crazy over there.
And Zeke wasn't the player.
Yep.
So that came down, and they floated outside the top 10, so they went down to 354-8. I think that final year had more to do with Jerry not putting proper talent in the huddle. So if you're looking at the 4 years that he was in Dallas, two of those years he had the #1 offense in National Football League.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
not horrible.
No, that's not. I think that's pretty damn good if you ask me. Now, ultimately didn't amount to what Dallas wanted to because they choke every year, no matter how good they are. But that's not on Kellen Moore. I mean, that's not all on Kellen Moore, obviously.
No, it's player accountability.
Yeah, players, coaches, organization. That's a lot bigger than Kellen Moore, the struggles in Dallas of the last 30 years. But yeah, you're right, man. I mean, that's why I'm optimistic, Sills. I really am. And it's not even just like an Eagle fan optimistic. I really think if Kellen approaches this with the right mindset, and when he spoke at his press conference, I thought he said good things. I want to accentuate the talents of my quarterback. I thought he said good things. If he does that and he just comes in here with an open mind and he doesn't try and fit a square peg into a round hole, I mean, how can this offense not take off, Sills? They got 2 of the best receivers in the NFL. They got a top 3 offensive line in the NFL. I mean, they got a top 5 tight end. They don't even need Jalen Hurts to be elite. They really don't. Just play top 10 ball. Just play top 10 ball as a quarterback, and your offense will probably be top 5. And if Kellen Moore accentuates his talents, they're going to be a hard team to beat. They really are. Now, that defense, that's another story, but, I'm optimistic on the offense, man. I really think that Kellen Moore is going to do a good job with this team. I think he's going to look at what Shane Steichen did. He's going to learn from that offense in 22, and he's going to make a better version of that. And that's what I'm most excited to see. Now, if he doesn't do that, it's almost like a shame on him situation because how do you get Jalen Hurts and not use him for what he's good for? But we'll see. I mean, I'm just optimistic on it. I think he's a good young, innovative offensive mind, and he hasn't reached his potential yet. This isn't like a guy that's, however many years old who's stuck in his ways like a Vic Fangio, This is a guy that's willing to learn, open up the playbook more, and I'm excited to see what he'll do.
I would sit Johnny Wilson down and make him watch Calvin Johnson film, especially now that they can't tackle you. It's a great point.
That's a lofty thing there, though, my friend. Hey, look, I'm excited about Johnny Wilson, too, but holy moly, I don't think he's ever – I see what you're saying, learn from Calvin.
Oh, I think these offensive wide receiver numbers are going to go up because of the hip drop tackle being taken out. I do. Yeah, I think it's going to – I think you're going to see more missed tackles this year than we've ever seen in the NFL.
Yeah, it's going to
be
a weird –
like Johnny Wilson could be – dude, wide receivers today, that is a position when you're in college right now, and you're actually in high school. When you're in high school right now, Zander, that's a position that you want to covet to be. You don't want to be a running back anymore. You want to be somebody like that because check this out. Yep. Check it out. I get the ball 4 times a game, and I'm making $30 million. Sign me up. And I don't get hit. I mean, that's the best position on the field.
Yeah, it's true.
Quarterback gets hit. Let me ask you something here. You said something to Paul this morning. How many carries do you actually think Saquon's going to get in this offense? You think they're going to use him like Zeke early in Dallas, or 270 carries? You haven't had a guy.
Maybe. I mean, I think they're a little bit of a different skill set, but they are similar. They're similar enough, I think, for that to be a good comparison. it does bring up the point. You brought up the point about the offenses with Kellen Moore. Maybe that's the reason they brought in Saquon Barkley and they've changed their philosophy at the running back position. Maybe we're over.
Oh, so you think maybe the reason they signed him in free agency was because, hey, he fits with Kellen?
Well, maybe. I'm just saying. I think we've all jumped to comparing Saquon to Christian McCaffrey in San Francisco, and I don't think that that's the right comparison. I don't think we have the quarterback for that. I don't think we have the offense for that. I don't think we have the players for that. I just don't think it's the same thing. But comparing him to prime Zeke in Dallas, maybe. But I also said this morning, I'm not sure if you caught it, but I don't really care about the numbers with Saquon. I really don't, because when you have this many guys on offense, it's tough to go off numbers as being a success. A.J. Brown's going to make a bulk of the numbers. Devontae Smith is going to get a lot. Jalen Hurts is going to take him at the carries that he wants to take. I care about the situational impact of Saquon Barkley. If you're up by 2 touchdowns or a touchdown late in the game, does he get you the first down, on 3rd and 3? Can he do those types of things that help you close out games? And even on the flip side, in the beginning of games, can he help you get in your offense? Can he help you avoid the early 3 and outs that put pressure on the defense? Can he help you do those things and get into the flow of game or at the end of the game, close out a game? The situational impact to me is more important than having 1,700 yards. I don't really care, If you do your job, and we'll know, by the way, we'll know whether the situational impact is there. If he does that, I think it'll be a successful signing.
Let me do something here with you. I'm going to go around the NFC East a little bit here in a second, but what positions, this was my second topic that I haven't even gotten to yet, but I'm going to do it with you. What positions can't the Eagles afford an injury? Let me start with these. I picked these: D-line, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, and edge.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go like this with D-line. And I'm just going to do the interior guys because obviously I split them up. I did edge and I did D-line. You can't really afford any injuries in that. If Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis goes down, then you're scrap heaping it again. Do you go get a guy like Tua? Not Tua? What's his name? Adama Sue? Something like that. Are you looking there? Are you going to have to go into the free agency area to try to sign a guy like that? They're very thin at defensive interior tackle.
Yeah, they really are. I would like them to make that move proactively instead of a reaction. Remember, we still had good rotation in 22 when we signed the Ndamukong Suh, and not great, but
Oh, I thought
and
it was
and I
really
think if
good.
you do that and you're able to bring in guys like that, you can lower the amount of, hits each of those guys takes, and maybe they avoid injury altogether because you're able to, lessen their snap count on lesser important downs and get them to play longer. But you get 2 young guys, and really the entire defense is hinging on them, not just the defensive line. The entire defense is hinging on the play of Jalen Carter, on the play of Jordan Davis, Milton Williams as well. If one of those goes down, and by the way, these are guys that have had a little bit of conditioning issues in the past, so it's a little scary. But if one of those goes down, you're right, man, we're in big trouble. Howie's going to be looking for somebody on the scrap heap for sure.
Would you call Fletcher?
I would
try to coax him out.
I would. I don't think he's your guy though.
You think
I
he's
think
finished?
Fletcher strikes me as a kind of guy.
Jason Kelsey's done. Have you seen the weight he's lost? He's done. He's done.
Fletcher strikes me as a guy that's going to be done too. Man, he's out in his land. He is hunting. He is enjoying his $100+ million on his whatever estate he's got, and I just don't think he's coming back. I would love it. I love Fletcher Cox, but we'll see. I doubt it, but yeah, I'd make the call. Why not? Right?
Hey, I'd call Aaron Donald too, JM. That's a great one.
$5 million for 8 games.
Hey, would you give Aaron Donald $3 million for the playoffs?
Yeah, I would.
Hey, I got $27.7 million. Hey, Aaron Donald, man, we're a little light in defensive tackle. Do you think you could come in and play 3 games for us? Here's $3 million. We'll prorate it out for you.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm in.
See, Jack says Fletch didn't really love football. It's kind of the point I'm making. I don't want to go as far as to say he didn't love it. I just think Fletcher isn't.
You don't play 12 years and not love it.
Yeah, well, he did love it, but the truth is he wasn't overly consumed by it. Like it wasn't everything he did. Fletcher was a guy, he did decompress. He did have hobbies and things away from the game, and I think he likes those things, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, he was a high level player. I don't think it ever took away from how good he was for our team, but you're right to the point, Jack. I mean, I don't think he's going to come out of retirement. I don't, unless maybe he thinks we're going to go and win a Super Bowl, maybe.
I think you're very thin at wide receiver.
We're beyond thin. Beyond thin. If AJ Brown goes down, what are you doing? John Ross? Johnny Wilson? Paris Campbell?
Smith?
Anias? Oof.
Yeah. Dude.
Yeah. I mean, if one of those goes down, you might as well wrap it up. Because
Devontae Smith goes down, you become more predictable, especially with a quarterback that had struggles reading defenses. So you can't really lose that guy. You can't lose it. Hey, do you think also with Goedert's not being in the lineup, you think that hurts also other teams being easier when it comes to game planning the Eagle offense because they become more predictable because it's one less guy that they know Jalen Hurts is not going to go to because he's not going to go to receiver 3. He's not going to go to the tight end because no tight ends were non-factor after Goedert got hurt. It just went to the numbers.
It's 100% the case. I mean, it's part of what happened, I think, down the stretch last year. I mean, the offense became so predictable that, it wasn't hard to guard. And even if A.J. Brown did get his touches, you were fine with it because you were like, I know that that's all they got, and they're not, eventually it's going to die out. So, look, I think this is where Kellen's going to help Jalen too. And it's part of what we talked about one of our first segments together where I'm like, in a way, it's sink or swim for Jalen because I don't think Jalen's going anywhere. But I'm saying Kellen's offense is going to force him to find the rest of the field. It's going to force him to use the middle of the field. It's going to force him to throw the ball to the tight end. It's going to force him to use some of those other pieces. And I think it's a good thing. I really do think it's a good thing for the Eagles offense as a whole, for sure.
What's your take on the depth at edge?
Not good, man. I mean, well, if Nolan Smith plays like a first-round draft pick, I think it's all right. Right? I mean, if he does,
you can't afford an injury there.
No, you can't. I mean, you can't afford an injury anywhere. I mean, really. I mean,
well, that O-line, I think you can.
So you think we're going to be the same team if Jordan Mailata goes down?
No, but I think you can put Mekhi Becton out there at left tackle.
Right, and get a serviceable version.
You're not gonna fall off a cliff over there with him.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, if somebody goes down at the edge room, it's all on Nolan Smith because, like, let's just say Huff or Sweat goes down. If Nolan Smith is playing like a first-round pick, at least you still have two guys there going, where you're in a position to be able to rush the passer. Now you're going to add a guy. BG is not going to be enough rotation, but yeah, you're right. I mean, the whole defensive line is technically weak on the depth, and Johnny Mack has been talking about this all off season. It's a good roster, but it's top heavy. I'd rather be top heavy than a bunch of mediocres all over the roster, but you're right. If we have injuries this year, it's going to be tough because you're going to be playing from the scrap heap. You're going to be picking up the scrap heap, and we'll see what we're able to do. But, you can't legislate it, right, Dan? I mean, what are we going to do?
No. And plus, you're not going to be deep, but I'm just saying, John McMullen made a great point today with you. I mean, I hate your linebacking core. However, you're kind of deep there with everybody that you have. I mean, they're all pretty much the same guy. They're all the same guy named Bob. That's kind of what I see when I see these dudes in the middle in there. So you got a bunch of guys that are okay. They're not 5-star guys. They're 3-star guys. And you're like this. Well, if this guy like, what's his name? Braun goes down. Okay. Got the other kid that you could slide in, the guy you got from San Francisco. So I mean, I actually think you're not that far off when it comes to depth at linebacker, and I don't like the group, but you could sustain an injury there. I think you can sustain an injury in your secondary too.
Secondary, yeah. I mean, I think it's possible to assume one of them might be coming with, the age of Slay. I mean, he's 30. He's like 34, dude. That's like he's like grandpa time in the NFL now, especially at that position. So. Yeah, I think you're right. There are definitely some positions where it will hurt us more. I mean, JM brings up a good point. Center, dude. If we leave,
I never thought of that one there.
I I mean, if you lose
But
Cam
couldn't you
Newton,
slide? Couldn't you
by
slide
the
Landon
way,
over?
you
Couldn't you
could.
slide? Couldn't you slide
I
Landon?
wonder if that's the way they would go. I mean, they have that Matt Hennessy as a backup. They
Yeah,
signed that
from
Matt
Atlanta.
Sharping to be a guard backup. So I don't know if they would move Landon. I mean, dude, he hasn't played center since college. You know, I don't know if they're going to go that route, but you're right. They could. They could. And
And
if the
then put
situation,
Becton at left guard.
yeah, that's
I mean, hey, would you ever contemplate doing this? Moving Landon Dickerson over to right guard and putting Becton over at left guard, and you put
yeah.
it that way and you roll that in there because
Why? Because Becton likes the left side.
yeah, and he's more comfortable over there.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it, but I see the reasoning. I mean, if
Look
you
at
can
the
move,
size
dude,
of
if you
the
move
line.
Landon to right, and then you put Mackay at left, and then you lock up Mackay Becton for the long term.
Hey, Jalen Hurts would need a footstool to look over.
I know.
Line.
That's a real worry. I mean, Jalen Hurts is like what, 6'1", maybe 6'2", like
1.5, something like
yeah,
that.
he's like not that tall. So that's a he would almost have to take a 5-step drop to be able to see over those guys at least. So, you know, that's definitely a thing. But I think we'll be all right at offensive line.
I'm going to go into the couple teams, obviously in the NFC East here. What's your takeaway of the Giants here? I want to read this here to you. The general manager, I think, has been a train wreck. I think their defense, like you said the other day, Kayvon Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, they got Burns. I like the kid Malik Neighbors, the kid they signed from LSU, but no Barkley, Daniel Jones. I mean, I think Brian Dable's a good play caller. Give me your takeaway on the Giants, though. I think they're a 5-win team. Are you higher or lower on them?
I'm right about where you are on them. I think the Neighbors kid's really good, but he's a receiver, man. Like he's nothing without the guys, you know, throwing him the ball, that offensive line, giving Daniel Jones time. So I think they're a 5-win team. I think you hit the nail on the head. They're right there. I don't know. I don't see them being a contender this year, really at all. Joe Schoen's been an absolute travesty there. I mean, basically nothing he has done really has worked out well.
Right.
Has been right. I mean, it's just bad. I mean, Brian Dable, I thought was going to be a great coach. He's turned out to really, I don't really know now. I mean, look, I liked him after rookie year, obviously. He got the coach
2
of the year.
years ago, he's the coach of the year.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh, let's see on this guy. So Giants are a nothing burger. I tell you what, your NFC East segment in the open here, it made me wonder, brother. I mean, Eagles don't even have to be that great, and they could walk their way into the playoffs this year.
I think for just this team, though, let me get into Washington here with you now.
Yeah,
I think Adam Peters has done a really nice job, the brand new general manager. Depending on how much influence. So let me ask you something, Zander. You can help me here. How much of an impact does Josh Harris have, and how much does he have on a day-to-day basis when it came to running the 76ers, in your opinion? After the years watching what they've done, how involved is he in running that organization in Philadelphia? I mean, do you get a sense he's a day-to-day guy?
No, I don't at all. You know what I get a sense from him? From a businessman, I respect it because to me, it just looks like he wants to build a sports conglomerate. You know, he wants to own teams all over the map. He wants to be a massive, and he wants to raise money, make money for all of his investors, and he doesn't really give a shit about what's going on in the day-to-day operations. I don't think of any of his teams. You know, that's why Daryl Morey runs free reign right now in Philly. And I don't think Daryl Morey is very good at his job, by the way. I mean, talk about an overhyped dude that's really never done nothing. Holy crap, Daryl Morey. He sucks.
What did he do in Houston? What did he do in Houston?
What is he known for? He's known for trading for Harden everywhere. Like, dude, I don't care. Like, win a title. Like, Daryl Morey, whatever. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole.
No, he's completely overrated.
He's terrible. Anyway, I don't think Josh Harris is involved. I don't think he's going to be involved in Washington. I think he'll be like, you know, show his face like he did at the draft and some of that crap. But I don't think he's going to be involved. I do think their GM is pretty good, though. I don't like Dan Quinn, though. I mean, I don't think he's a good head coach. I don't think he's going to be a good head coach. So, but I do like the quarterback they picked up. Yeah. So we'll see what they're able to do. You brought up a good point. Their receivers are amazing. I think Terry McLaurin's one of the more underrated guys in the NFL. He's a good player.
And that kid Johan Dotson on the other side of him, I think Washington has better wide receiving guys as a duo than Dallas does. Brandon Cooks or CeeDee Lamb. Or would you take Terry McLaurin and Johan Dotson? I would take the guys in Washington.
Yeah, I think I would too. I mean, I think CD is the best one of the group, but collectively, I think Washington is the better duo. I think they're a 7-8 win team maybe this year. I think they take a step forward. I think they show signs, but they're not ready to take that type of leap yet. So that's how I view them.
How about this stat here? Well, here, I mean, I think they improved also on defense a little bit here. Were you shocked when I told you that Austin Ekeler in the last 5 years is a running back that had 30 touchdowns rushing, 30 touchdowns receiving? He's the only back, and that includes McCaffrey, where he's put those numbers up in the last 5 years. This guy's out in Los Angeles and out in San Diego the first year there. And I know Austin, and he was an all-pro first-team guy in 2022. I don't even remember him signing in Washington. Man, I would have loved to have that kind of skill set in the Eagle huddle. But hey, here's what. Watch this, Zander, and here's the problem people have. Barkley is a better talent. Ekeler is more productive.
Yeah, but JM brings up a good point. He got that injury, and he's never been the same. And he's a dual threat running back, dude. Like, Jalen doesn't throw to those guys. So why are you going to go and sign a guy that's really makes butters a lot of his bread in the passing game? Jalen's not going to do that. I don't care for an undersized pass catching running back. I don't. I've been consistent about that all summer. I don't care for that guy now. Maybe he'll be good there, but yeah, I don't know. You didn't win me over on that one.
And by the way, you got to remember something. Last year there was a contract dispute last year between Ekeler and also the Chargers last year. So the same thing with Barkley.
He was crying. He was crying up a storm like he was one of the best running backs in the NFL. I'm like, listen, guys,
it was coming off an all-pro season.
All right, dude. I mean, there's
not high on him as a player, huh?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all.
Even with 60 touchdowns combined in the last 5 years,
I like him. I think he's a guy. I think he's replaceable. I mean, I think he's he's more replaceable than I can name you 5 backs off the top of my head I would take before him.
Now you put him in that huddle though with Terry McLaurin and Johan Dotson.
Yeah, right. I think it's a good fit. I'm just saying from about the perspective of bringing him into bringing him into the Eagles. I don't care. Forrest, I didn't call anybody a dual threat quarterback. I called him him a dual threat running back in the sense that he can catch the ball. Yeah,
that's what he does, and that's who he is. They also get Bobby Wagner and they get Frankie Laveau in linebacker, and they got the best linebacking core in the NFC East, in my opinion. Now they lost that kid, that sweat kid that went up to Chicago, and they lost Chase Young who went down to New Orleans. So they're going to have to figure out how to get to the quarterback. But Zander, I'm a little higher on this team, man. I think this team could be between a 7-9 win team, somewhere in there, depending. It's all going to come down to Kingsbury and his relationship with Jaden Daniels.
So you think Jaden Daniels is going to have a big year? You think
Jaden Daniels is going to have a big year?
You do?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's going to be good. I just don't know if he's ready to take that type of a jump yet. I mean, you're almost going – you think he has more of a CJ Stroud first year than you do, like a regular first year quarterback?
Like a Bryce Young? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Bryce Young. I mean, shit. I'm not.
Yeah, well, Bryce Young, I think Bryce Young is like, in my opinion, I think Bryce Young is not being coached right. They're not putting good player. Why would you get rid of Christian McCaffrey when you drafted Bryce Young, knowing full well that that's a guy you need in the backfield to help that kid become a better ball player? That doesn't make sense to me. And get this, you didn't even get a first rounder for him.
I know.
You got a bunch of multiple picks, 2s and 3s. You didn't even get a 1 for the guy.
I know.
And what do? You put another stiff in the backfield. Oh, no, what'd you do? You went out and got Miles Sanders, who played, 5 games last year for you?
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I'm an Alabama guy, but I don't know about Bryce Young in the NFL, man. And the organization where he is not helping him at all. So I don't know much. I don't think he's going to end up doing much in the NFL. We'll see. He just doesn't. He looks small to me, man, out there, and I don't know if he's gonna get it together, especially in Carolina. So, but look, If Jaden Daniels has a CJ Stroud type of year, that would be pretty impressive. Got to tip your cap if that happens.
2 last questions here for you.
Yep.
And I heard you talking about him. You guys were saying the same thing about Jalen Carter. So you're not completely sold on him, huh?
On who?
Jalen Carter.
No. See, I thought that guy. I thought Johnny Mac blew my comment out of proportion. I'm sold on him. I'm more sold on him than probably any player that's been good for 10 games in the history of the freaking NFL. But the reality is the reality. It's not like a foregone conclusion, right? I mean, we got to see the guy play a full season. We got to see him do it again. I mean, I'm not going to judge his entire productivity in an NFL season based on 11 good games, you know. And I look, I'm extremely high on the player. I think he's going to be better than Fletcher Cox was in Philly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that tells you
Hall
what
of
I think.
Fame.
That's Hall of Fame. That's nearly Hall of Fame. That's Eagles Hall of Fame for sure. That's potential NFL Hall of Famer. I think he's that good. But that doesn't mean I'm ready to say, you know, he's going to be that right away. Like, I got to keep saying it. You know, you got to see it. You want to earn it. And I'm not ready to give him the benefit of the doubt just yet. That's all. That's not that I'm not sold on the player.
Let me give you where you are when it comes to him. And you're right. When I first saw Jadeveon Clowney his first year, I went like this. Wow, this player's going to be good. But you know what he never did? He never wowed me after that. Yeah. Like, it was never, he's never had double-digit sacks in his entire NFL career. He's never had double-digit sacks. He was the first overall pick, and he never had double-digit sacks. I saw him his first year, and I went, hey, this kid's going to be a good ball player. So I think you're right. Look, he have all the fundamental skills to become one of the top interior defensive tackles that the Eagles have ever had. Absolutely. But we saw him get to the college 12, 13, 14 game level. It went the other way a little bit. Now we want to see him become a pro because, hey, Zander, from 12 to 17, that's when you know you're a pro football player.
Yeah, exactly. Jadeveon Clowney, is he the one? He is the guy that concussed Wentz, right? In the playoff game. Yeah. I was at that.
Remember him and his big hit was in the Outback Bowl when he knocked that guy from Michigan out, who was their starting quarterback, and that was he was like the billboard that never really the movie lived up to.
Yeah, and that's why you got to be. That's why, and that's a perfect example of why you have to, you got to see it again from Jalen Carter. I don't think it's a knock on the player. It's just, it's the NFL. You got to continue to do it. You got to continue to show it. The one thing that annoys me a little bit, full disclosure on it, and I'm not ready to be annoyed about it with Jalen Carter, but I am ready to be annoyed about it with guys like Jordan Davis, with guys like Nakobe Dean, with guys like, that have been in the league now for more than a year. Like, this entire life, this entire job, is about being in shape. You're playing a sport, a physical sport. The number one thing you're supposed to do as a player is be in shape. Now, I think it's different for Jalen because game shape is a little different. Acclimating to the NFL, that's normal to me. That makes sense to me. But Jordan Davis, like, you're getting gas in the second half of seasons. Son, come on, man. Like, you're paid millions of dollars to be in shape. You're paid money to go to the gym. Go to the gym. Be in shape. It's not that hard. Like you say, I'm not going to, you want me to thank you for not robbing a bank? You want me to praise you for being in shape? No. That's the bare bones minimum of an elite athlete in this world. And I think that, that irks me a little bit. Like I said, I'm not ready to be mad at Carter about it because he was a year one player. But if he can't go for a full year this year, I mean, come on, man. You got to get in that gym. So, yeah, Flexion says, leave the tasty cakes alone, man. So that irks me a little bit about these guys.
How about Disciple here? What if Brian Johnson has a great year at the quarterback coach along with Cliff Kingsbury, and that guy has a CJ Stroud year?
Oh, my God.
Yeah. What if that guy goes up there and Jalen stays pretty stagnant and has the same kind of year he had a year ago? And it doesn't look like a gigantic upgrade.
Dude, if Brian Johnson gets Jaden Daniels playing like that, oh my gosh, that will look terrible on the Eagles. That will not look good, dude.
If that guy goes up there, throws for more yards than Hurts this year in his rookie year, and and get this, and they're fighting out for the NFC East.
You think he's got more upside than Hurts?
He's better in the pocket than him.
That pause told me all I needed to know.
Well, because again, you got to be careful with that because Hurts, one thing he is really good at, he sees the game.
Really?
Well, I didn't say he sees receivers.
Okay.
He sees the game, dude. I mean, he's won a ton of ball games.
No, I know he does. I'm just saying there are moments when you watch tape and you watch the all 22s and you see guys streaking up the side and it's like, Jalen, I wish you would just look to the other side of the field. So that's what I was referring to. But
I'm talking, it's more.
Yeah, you're not talking about that. You're talking about as a whole, a little bit more zoomed out and understanding of the game. No, I see what you're saying.
The Buffalo overtime is what I'm kind of talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point for sure.
Like that stuff.
Yeah, that's true. He's also 5 years in the NFL now.
Yeah, I know. It's finally here. Okay. What are your expectations with Nolan Smith this year? What do you want to see from him?
I think you got to get on the board, man. You got to be somebody that a defense has to block. You got to be somebody that when you're out there, you're a threat to get to the quarterback. Now, maybe in this type of role, it's a 6 to 8 sack role. Maybe it's not a bona fide starter because he does have Sweat and Huff in front of him, but your first round pick, man, it's time, and that's a valuable position. So I'm not going to sit here and wait all day for you to do it. My problem with Nolan is, and I'm you guys can rip me if you want in the chat. That's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that. He doesn't look it to me. When you look at an edge rusher, you can kind of tell. You know what I mean? Look at Myles Garrett. Look at Micah Parsons. Look at, TJ Watt. Look at Nick Bosa. Look at even Joey Bosa.
There's a presence.
Look at Hassan Reddick. Look at Josh Sweat. When I look at Nolan, I'm like, you're small. I don't see you being a threat against 330-pound offensive linemen who are trying to take you out. I don't see you getting past that. And that's my biggest problem with him right now. Now, it's just my eye test. It's just an opinion. It doesn't mean it's not an indictment on the player before you all start freaking out. It's just my opinion. It's just what I see. And I look at him and I say, I'm a little concerned that he's going to be a great edge rusher in the NFL. That's all. I don't see it yet. I hope he can turn the corner. I hope he can be a great player. But this is another thing the Eagles love. What's up with them and these undersized edges, man?
Dude.
I don't like it.
No.
Go get me a game wrecker.
Yeah. Yeah. You had a game wrecker. I saw a guy destroy the NFC title game. I watched a guy destroy the NFC title game, right? All pro Nolan.
Oh, man.
Zander.
Niners all damn day. He's trolling at his ass and he knows it.
Hey, well, who do you have as? Oh, that's right. You have Nick Bosa there. What an absolutely awesome debate. Better than anything I saw last.
Oh my God. You want to go? You want me to go into that? Don't even.
No, hey, what you think?
People think they're mad at me now. Wait till they hear my take on the presidential debate.
What'd you make of that thing last night?
It's a travesty that guy is running our country. It really to sit back and to understand that we live in a country of 350 million people almost, and you turn on your television set, and that guy is the pinnacle of the free world. The pinnacle. He is the number one job basically on planet Earth as the president of this country. And you watch him and you're just, last night was to me
like watching Nick Sirianni on an Eagles sideline.
I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. I'll be fully honest about that, but I almost felt bad for the guy. When you're somebody's not up to speed and somebody's picking on him and you're like, yo, man, pick on somebody your own size. That's how I felt though. I was like, this guy shouldn't be up there, man.
I think Trump laid off him.
I think Trump looked at him and almost said,
yeah,
I could shut up because
You know what? I think he did. I think Trump went like this. I really don't have to say much.
Yeah, look, I don't want to go too politics on everybody.
No, I
know you don't give a shit. You barely care about my football takes.
Yeah,
I know you don't give a shit about my
70
politics.
million people did watch that thing last
Yeah,
night.
man, it's a thing, and we're in June here. That's a big thing that's happening in our country, and I think it's worth talking about at least a little bit, even if not every one of you like my opinion. I'm all right with that, but I just think we got. I mean, man, that guy, like I said, this is a big country with a lot of great people, a lot of smart people, and I watch that and I'm just like, good Lord,
I don't get
man.
it, dude. We have so many smart folks in this world, like Elon and them guys, and we can't get like really good candidates to run for president of the United States. You know what? Funny, isn't that crazy? All the major executives don't want the gig because it don't pay enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey man,
I mean, some net worth has gone down since he's been, he's one of the only politicians where the net worth has actually gone down since he took public office because he stopped running, big businesses. So, yeah, what a shit show last night was. But
I tuned that thing on. I'm watching and I'm going, how many times did you do this? Ooh.
I know what I'm doing in November.
Oh my God Almighty, Zander, great stuff, my friend. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Sil. See you, everybody. Thanks for listening to me and hearing my opinions. I know half of you don't care, but I'm still going to give them to you anyway. I appreciate all you guys. Love you all. Hit the like. Thank you, Sils.
Absolutely. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.